Hey, this is David Gafford from the Barbecue Lab, and today I'm excited to do a deep dive review on the Masterbuilt Gravity Series 800, and we've got it all coming up. The Masterbuilt Gravity Series 800 is a grill, smoker, and a griddle all rolled into one. The thing that makes it unique is that this is fueled by charcoal, not pellets, not propane. It's really a charcoal grill, but we've been cooking on it for the last 6 weeks and we're ready to give you a deep dive into the details of this grill so you can decide if this is right for you. Now, the question that everyone wants to know is how many square inches of cooking space do I have on this unit? Well, the Gravity Series gives you the exact amount of cooking surface in the name. This is the Gravity Series 800, which means we have 800 square inches of cooking surface. Now, what does that work out to in real life? Well, we have multiple levels of cooking surface. You have the main surface down below, as well as the second and third grate level. But what it really works out to is this. We've got our handy dandy tape measure, and we're going to go ahead and measure the inside of the grill. You're looking at right around 24.25 to 24.5 inches wide to a depth of right around 16.5 to 16.75 inches. The shelves on the top are at a depth of right around 8.5 inches and a width that's the same as the grill itself, right around 24 inches. Now, there are two shelves that come with this to give you a second and a third level here, and it still won't get in the way of this bottom level to be able to give you access to that as well. So when you're smoking and you want to look at multiple racks and multiple levels, it comes with a couple of extra levels to give us that 800 square inches of cooking. Now, the Gravity Series has a temperature range of 150 degrees on the low end to 700 degrees on the top end. That is quite an impressive temperature range, fueled by charcoal nonetheless. Now, the assembled dimensions on this grill start at 24.5 by 54 by 52. So you're actually looking at a grill that has a relatively large footprint. That's because you're putting an entire hopper of charcoal onto the side and a nice usable shelf on the other. When it came to shipping this unit, we found that it came in right around a week delivery time. And most units that we get here at the Barbecue Lab come with a semi, with a lift gate and a pallet jack, and they wheel it right into the garage. This unit was a little bit different in that it came in a van with two ladies who were delivering it, and I was really impressed with the person who took it, because she just grabbed the grill by the side, by that strap around the side, and lifted it out and just hefted it into the garage. So I'm just going to say, this is a heavy unit, but I was crazy impressed by the ladies who delivered it with a clean box, no damage to the outside. It was in pristine shape as far as the shipping was concerned. So I don't know exactly what will happen when you have yours delivered, but that was an impressive delivery that I had not expected. So that was kind of fun. Now, when it comes to the packaging itself, it was rather robust. It's styrofoam all over on the inside, tight packaging with those cardboard corners to protect the edges so it won't crush. It was very rigid vertically. But what we found is, as we were taking everything out of the box, that there was actually a dent in the charcoal hopper here. So you can actually see it right here. There's a dent in the hopper that came from the factory. It didn't come from shipping, which is usually where we find a lot of our dents showing up. But this is one that came, it looked like it happened in the factory, because there was nothing in the box that gave any indication that there would be a dent in the unit when it came. Now, I'm sure if we wanted to actually call Masterbuilt customer support and work this out, that we could have, but it didn't really affect us from a testing perspective or a functionality perspective, so we just lit it up and kept right on going. Now, the assembly on this unit took us a little while. It was right around the 2-hour mark, and it suggests that you use 2 people to assemble, and they're not wrong, because when you actually get the legs built and you try to put the top onto the legs, and I mean, it's hard to get some of those screws in there. And also, the other thing is, make sure you wear a pair of gloves, like a pair of nitrile gloves, because some of the manifolds that you're using are really greasy, and you'll find that they have some lubrication on the outside. Not great to have on your hands, so wear a pair of gloves when you get into that. You'll thank me later. After we finally had the unit assembled, it was time to season the grill. And the first thing is to burn off all the oils and the chemicals. And if you look at the manual here for the Masterbuilt 800, there's a clear process you can follow to do this. So step number 1 was to start the grill and heat it at 120 degrees Celsius or 225 Fahrenheit for 60 minutes. Step number 2 was to kick up the temperature to about 205 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. And then step 3 was just to shut down and completely cool the unit. Now, once it had cooled, they recommend that you go ahead and take step 4, where you cover the internal surfaces of the cooking chamber with a cooking oil like canola. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do that, but we like to buy a spray bottle or 2 of cooking spray just to make things easier. Step number 5 is simply to start the grill and heat it to about 175 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. And then once you've done that, completely let it cool and you're ready to go. Now, the thing is, a lot of people say, well, why would I want to go through all of that? Why can't I just cook on my grill? Well, there's a lot of manufacturing oils and things that get on the grill during the process. And trust me, you just want to cook that stuff off. You don't want that on your food that you're going to be cooking on this grill. And the other thing is, it's really the best way to combat rust on your grill long term. Now, seasoning the griddle is different than seasoning the grill because we left the grill grates on for the seasoning process. And when you season the griddle, you've really got to go at the griddle for quite a while to get it seasoned. If you want to know how to season a griddle, go ahead and check it out on our YouTube channel. I'll link to the video in the card up here. Safety features on the Masterbuilt 800 series are actually plentiful. One of the things that you'll find is that there's a switch on the lid that limits the temperatures to 260 degrees Celsius or 500 degrees Fahrenheit whenever the lid is opened. Now, also, that means that you're going to have a 500 degree Fahrenheit top temperature for the griddle whenever the lid is open as well. So that's a safety feature, but it's also going to limit you when you have the griddle open, so that way the fire doesn't get away from you. Now, the charcoal hopper and ash door also have switches as well. So if you lift this handle here, or if you open this handle here, you're going to find that the fan stops running, and that's really to make sure that the grill doesn't have the chimney effect going on. Now, you're familiar with a charcoal chimney where you load it full of charcoal, put a couple lighter cubes underneath, and then that fire will go through the chimney and create a vortex inside to light all of that charcoal. Well, this, in effect, is a giant chimney. And as long as you leave this open and you have a fan and air going down below, this will turn this whole column of charcoal into a giant charcoal chimney. So they have a release button here and a release button here. Whenever you open them up, it kills the fan so that it doesn't actually accelerate the fire throughout the whole entire chamber. Grilling on the Masterbuilt Gravity Series 800, it's just like grilling over a charcoal fire. In that a fan stokes the coals and keeps them piping hot. You can get it all the way up to 700 degrees, which gives you an amazing sear. Now, this isn't direct cooking, so the charcoal is not on the bottom of the grill. The charcoal is still in the bottom of that charcoal chamber, but it's blowing the charcoal heat all the way through the manifold on the inside and letting that come out and heat the grill. Now, I've just got to say, we've gotten an amazing sear on meat. We did a porterhouse steak the other day, and that porterhouse steak, we just did it on the factory grates, and we got great sear marks on that steak with just about 4 minutes per side. So those are wide grill supports, which are giving you great marks down the middle for those grilling sessions. We also grilled some snow crab legs, and I gotta tell you, it gave it a smoky and charcoal flavor that you sure don't get in a pot of water in the kitchen. If you haven't grilled snow crab legs, that's something you've got to try, and we found that doing them on here at about 400 degrees, about, say 4 minutes or so per side, was dynamite. Now, when it comes to changing this unit over from grill to griddle mode, there are 2 manifolds that are used to be able to control the heat coming out of the charcoal chamber. The first manifold is for grilling, and it actually has a top to it. It almost looks like a house with windows down the side, and that is used for grilling. The one for griddle is the same length of manifold, but the top actually fans out to be able to give direct heat directly to that griddle top. And so what you'll find is that there's a storage spot on the bottom of the cart to put the one that you're not using, so it's always accessible whenever you need it. Now, when you're not using the grill grates, there's a couple of hanging hooks underneath the shelf to make sure that you have a place to store those grates when they're not in use. When you're using the griddle, the Masterbuilt 800 is actually designed so that the griddle almost snaps in place when you put it into use. Now, there's not an actual snap, but you can tell when you put it in place that, hey, this is going to be secure and it's not going anywhere. So the griddle is heavy. It's not unlike what you might find at your local hibachi restaurant. There's a drain in the front left that you can push your scraps or be able to, press the water in there as you're cleaning it. But that drain goes all the way down to a drain cup that you can easily remove from the bottom to keep it nice and clean and keep things out of the way. Now, there's a handle attached to the griddle, so when you're moving it around, it's nice to be able to have a handle that you can pick up on and carry the griddle around without having to try to get your hands on the surface. Now, you can set the grill to 700 degrees, and it'll be 700 degrees on the griddle as well, because it doesn't know whether the griddle's in there or whether the grill grates are in there. But as soon as you open that lid, it's going to cap that to 500 degrees. But still, you can get an amazing sear on smash burgers, bacon, grilled onions, all kinds of things. And that was actually the first thing that we cooked on this, were smash burgers with bacon and grilled onions. The crust on the patties was next level. It was an exceptional crust that we were able to get, and I got to tell you, it's one of the best burgers I've ever made. When it comes to smoking, our suggestion is to load the charcoal hopper full and then put chunks of your favorite smoking wood about every 2 inches of coal. We probably put in 10 chunks of smoking wood with our full hopper, and then a chunk or two also added to the ash bucket, where the hot ash that falls from the charcoal will light that up and actually cause that to smoke and give us amazing levels of smoke out of this unit. The first smoke we did on this was a chuck roast, and we put it right on the grates at 275 for right around 4 hours. After about the 4-hour mark, we put it in a foil pan with some beef broth, and we covered it to braise, and it just shredded beautifully and had a deep, deep red smoke ring. Now, we also did spare ribs for my mom and dad when they came over. We cooked them right around 250 degrees. We left the ribs unwrapped, and we finished right around the 4.5-hour mark. They had a crispy charcoal crust that you can only get when you're cooking with charcoal, and it was fantastic. We've done other cooks as well, and if you want to look, just find us out on Instagram. When it comes to storing this grill, there's an optional cover that you can purchase to make sure that you cover it whenever it's not in use. Now, we have the cover here, and it's heavy duty. And I recommend using the cover if you're going to leave it out, because this is a metal grill, not made of stainless steel, that is prone to the elements, and I would make sure that I protected my investment. Now, this grill is also connected to power, so you need to have an AC outlet nearby, and the cable on this will probably get you right around 10 feet or so, but you're going to need to be able to have power close by wherever you store it, unless you want to unplug it and plug it each time you use it. Now, let's go over what we really loved about this unit. The first thing was the countdown and count up timer. The timer on the Masterbuilt Gravity Series not only counts down, but it counts up as well. So if I start a cook, I can hit the timer and tell it to begin, and I know that 3 hours in is when I wrapped. Or I know that, 7 hours into the brisket, that's when I went ahead and moved it over and turned the temperature up to make sure I heard, whatever it might be. I have a count up timer that I can keep my log with, and I really like that. Now, the other thing I really enjoy is the smoke and sear grates. Now, if you look at the grates are reversible. One side is made for grilling and one side is made for smoking. Now, the smoking side, it really looks like the top point of a triangle. So when you're smoking, the only part that's touching the meat is the top part of that triangle. It's a very, very fine line that the meat is touching, allowing for maximum smoke exposure to that meat. Now, the grill side looks like the flat bottom side of a triangle, because when you flip it over, that's what you see, and it gives you incredible thick grill marks on whatever it is that you're going to be searing. I like the dual use of this to be able to get as much smoke as you can during smoke mode and as much grilling marks as you can during grill mode. I also really like that there's a probe port on the cooking chamber. Not every grill has a probe port, and I find myself constantly shutting probe wires for thermometers in the door. It just wears on the cables, constantly getting kinks, and I have to go out and get replacement cables. So I like that they put a probe port in this grill from the get-go. There's also a foldable front shelf, and this foldable front shelf is deep enough that I can rest a pan on it, but it really gives it a smaller footprint when it's not in use. So I enjoy that this is built in, and I think it's good enough for what I want it to do. It'd be nice if it could be deeper, but the deeper it is, the higher the cost, and there's all kinds of things that go on with that. But I find that it's a good size for what I need it to do. Now, along with all the things we like about it, there's also some opportunities for improvement. One of the things that we ran into is that we had a solder connection that failed on the controller. And so this is our second cook into this, and what we found is that the solder connection that holds the power cable onto the bottom of the grill actually came disconnected from the controller itself, and we were completely DOA. We had no way to power up the grill on our second use. Well, what we found out is that that actually was caused by having not much strain relief on the power cable. And so what we were able to do is we were able to contact customer support. Customer support was able to get us a new controller, and we were able to put that new controller in. But what we find is that the power cable, even though it has a rubber coupling around it to be able to give it pressure so that it won't slide in and out, for some reason the power cable in the middle wants to slide back and forth freely, and that means that the only thing holding the power cable to the controller is the solder point. You have some strain relief wings on the back of the shelf to tie the power cable around, but if you leave the power cable connected to power to the controller when you go to tie it around that back, you could easily pull that away from the controller and you'd end up with a dead controller. So we wholeheartedly recommend that if you're going to tie your cable on the back of the shelf, that you disconnect your power cable from the controller first to make sure that you're not going to yank that off of the controller and end up with a dead grill. Now, another thing that we also had is we had smoke that was leaking out of the top of the charcoal hopper. Now, from the factory, these latches were set in such a way that you could actually still connect this and it would lock down. But it would not lock down hard enough where it wouldn't have smoke leaking out here. So what we did was we were able to grab a couple of wrenches and tighten these down so we wouldn't have smoke leaking out around the sides. Now, I'm not sure if it's supposed to or not, but we still, even to this day, have a little bit of smoke leaking out on a couple points around the hopper. Now, another point of improvement could be that dent from the factory. I'm not sure where that happened and why that happened, but that's something that I would say is an opportunity for improvement. Another thing that we noted is that underneath the actual ash drawer, underneath that, we're getting a little bit of black goo. And I don't know if it's liquid smoke. I'm not sure if I don't know what it is, but underneath that on our patio here, we're finding that we have a little bit of black residue that's making a puddle underneath. And I think it's due to the seal on that ash door. I think it's due to that seal not fully sealing. It's giving us little bit of smoke or liquid smoke falling out of there. So what we've had to do is we've had to put some kind of a mat down to make sure that we don't stain our patio from that happening in the future. Now, another thing that I would say is an opportunity for improvement is the Masterbuilt app. I really, really, really like the app. But for some reason, when we use the app to control the grill, every now and then it would completely power the grill off and we would have a blue backlit screen, but nothing happening on the controller itself. So I don't know why, but for some reason when we were using the app, it would cause the grill to turn off. And I don't know what that reason was. We'll dive into it further, and if we find out that reason, we'll try to come back and put a comment here, or we'll try to address this on our Instagram post. But for some reason, maybe it just needs an update to the firmware, but we had the grill turn off on us a couple times when we were using the app to control things. The last thing I would say is that you could always increase the thickness of the metal on any grill that you find at the standard box stores here in the United States. This grill is no different. I mean, the thickness of the metal is relatively thin when compared to a lot of the heavier grills that are out there. Now, there's almost no way that Masterbuilt can actually meet the demand of the average home cook who wants something 1/4 inch thick metal all the way around, as well as a $500 price point. Well, I don't know of any way to hit a $500 price point and include 1/4 inch metal on the whole entire grill. Even just using 1/4 inch metal on just the charcoal chute itself would push this out of the price point that it's trying to reach. So for that reason, that's one of the things I look at and say, I'd love to see thickness of the metal be thicker, but I know that that means we'd be looking at a $1,500 or higher grill, which I would love to see Masterbuilt build. I think that grill would be perfect for cooks like me who are looking for something that they can have for 10, 15 years and know that it's going to last and withstand the elements coming and beating against it. Okay, here's a couple tips on using the Gravity Series 800. The first thing would be make sure that you shake the charcoal grate before you light the grill. If those charcoal briquettes that you're using from the last time are completely ashed over, they'll have a much more difficult time lighting. So shake that ash off before you try to light the grill. The second one is, what lighter should you use to light this grill up? We recommend these flat little lighter pucks that you can get from a couple different places, and we'll be sure to put links down below. Masterbuilt is also coming out with their own series of lighters and their own series of charcoal, so be looking for that coming up from us here soon when we get a chance to review that and show you what it looks like inside the 800 series. All right, so overall, what do we think about the Masterbuilt Gravity Series 800? The Gravity Series from Masterbuilt is a really strong addition to the outdoor cooking market. They're bringing technology that was previously only available to competition barbecue cooks to the hobbyist's backyard. While the Gravity Series does have its drawbacks, we find that the pros outweigh the cons and make this a solid option for anyone who likes to smoke and grill. Now, the 800 model combines the set it and forget it ease of use that we're used to in a pellet grill, but with the flavor and high heat ability of charcoal. Now, with smoking, grilling, and griddling as options in the 800 series, it's really hard to find another unit in the market right now that's as versatile of a machine in such a compact footprint. Now, if you want to learn more about the Gravity Series 800, check out the links in the description below. We'll have links down there where you can check the current price and availability, as well as a link to our website where we go over all the things we talked about in the video and more in depth in the article. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, we'd love to have you join us here in the Barbecue Lab as we put out about a video per week on the best in outdoor cooking and outdoor living. So go ahead and subscribe to that channel so you don't miss out on anything, so you can get the best and just leave out the rest. I'm David from the Barbecue Lab, and I want to say thanks for joining us. It's been a lot of fun reviewing the 800 series from Masterbuilt, and I hope to see you next time right here on the channel.